Good evening, fellow electricians. Steve here from SFG. Excuse the hair, I've been working. I just want some opinions, comments, anything you can give me. Situation today. I haven't thought what I'm going to do about it anyway, but situation today, go out following an EICR done on a flat 1 year ago. It failed the EICR because it hadn't got an RCD protected consumer unit for the final ring. And that's what it failed for. There was another few things that was picked up, IP rating of stuff, thermal damage as well. You'll see on the video. But it's this thing about the RCD protection. Now, I did make a video earlier on today about this thing, and I've since found up a couple of colleges that I know, lecturers at the colleges that I know. I've also contacted NAPIT. I always was under the opinion that the EICR and the regs are not retrospective, i.e. you go out to assess a system that's been put in 20 years ago. So what we're talking 20 years ago, 16th, 17th edition. I ain't an Arab, so I don't know when it changed over, but I think I took my 16th edition just after it was 15th edition, so I would imagine it's probably about 20 years, anyway, regardless of that. 20 years ago or so on, these buildings was put up and wired. It's black and red, so it's probably about 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Anyway, nevertheless, I'm going off the track. So the regs are not retrospective. You do an EICR, it is not retrospective. You cannot fail a system because it has no RCD on the final ring. You cannot fail the system or install because it has no RCD protecting buried cables. Those are C3s. Those are what you would bring up as a recommendation. You can't fail it because it's got no RCD, because when it was fitted to the correct regs. So this guy failed it, and don't get me wrong here, I would not fail it. I would put C3s. If there's any C2s, you put them down. If there's any C1s, it would fail, yeah, etc. Or C2s as well. Anyway, so I would highly recommend that they get the board change, and I have no qualm about what the guy has done here in recommended a new consumer unit. What I do say is he can't fail it, and he has failed it because of that. So regardless of that, I've gone out just before Christmas just to have a look at the system on behalf of somebody I know. He's not a friend, he's just somebody I know. So I've gone out and had a look at it, and he wanted my personal opinion on the system. Well, I said I disagree with him in failing it. I said, but don't get me wrong, it should not be failed, but it is drastically up need of an update. drastically up need of an update. But you can't fail it. I'm being honest with the guy, and I said, do you want me to quote for what I recommend, or do you want me to quote against the EICR that he's left? Got to be honest, I'd have put things right anyway. So I'll quote against the EICR. I'll list all the what's it, and most of the stuff will be done by changing the consumer unit. So I'll put in a quote in. I always fit RCBO boards, so main switch RCBO. I also fit a surge protector. It's pointless cutting corners. You know, let's play the game properly. You know, do it properly. By fitting an RCBO board in a let property or whatever, old people's property, if a part of the circuit goes down, let's say for instance the old Deer's kettle goes and trips the main RCD, half the system's out. A normal RCD will trip out what, about 20 milliamps, 25 milliamps. I don't know the exact amount. You get a kettle or a toaster that's playing up, the old Deer ain't going to know how to turn the board on. So I fit RCBOs. That way, if there's any leakage on any part of the circuit, it will only trip one RCBO. We all know that. We're electricians. We know what I'm on about here. Anyway, put that on one side. I've got the job. I goes out this morning with my mate to replace the consumer unit and do the remedials that, you know, I've picked up as well. First thing first, to take off the board. Okay, safe isolation. Forget all the, you know, the stuff that we do. Safe isolation, I've done that. So it's foregone conclusion. I take off the board, and on the cable ends, what I do is an EICR. So I measured up all the cables, checked the ring, not my mate's ring, this ring. Leave it. So I check it. I check everything. So I've got all my figures down. Just bear with me. I think I've still got my notebook with them in. You had to excuse the. Yeah. I ain't gonna give any names out here, but yeah, I've got all my figures down here. I don't know if you can all see it. Yeah. That's the notes I make as I'm going along. So I know that the system is checked out before I actually put the new consumer unit on. Put the new consumer unit on. If anybody's fitting these fuse boxes with the RCBOs in, it's a bit of a bitch for tightness. Anyway, gets that on, does that. So let's take it there, put them all in the board, and I've made the best job I can do on a situation like that. I mean, it looks like it was a bear's nest to start off with. Got too much thermal damage anyway. Much better after I've done it. Anyways, by the way, so we start to power up each circuit in turn, knowing that I've tested all these things out before. So, shower, okay, cooker, okay, final ring, oh, and again. So onto the next circuit, onto the next circuit, onto the next circuit, or every circuit but the final ring was tripping. It was tripping out the final ring. So gets the cables out again, does all the tests again. Now I've got a direct short between neutral and earth. So what do you think? It's something that we have done while we've been there. You would think that. You know what it's going to be like trying to find a fault like that. Oh, it's 4:30 as well. It's now 7:45 at night. 4:30, we've got this problem. We're just commissioning it and finishing off and tidying up. So we all know what we've got to do. We've got to take one leg off. We've got to keep on taking all the sockets off until we find out which side of the ring it's on, and narrow it down as much as you can, thinking that it's something that we've done. Now, I haven't took all the sockets off. Some of them have been in similar thing to these tiles. They've been tiled round and grouted in. You can't take them off. We did take one off. We had to change it because there's thermal damage on that. I still think it's the plug top on the washing machine that was causing that. But I mean, if it goes again, it's got to be that anyway. Right, so we take sockets off just to narrow it down, which part of the ring it's on, so we can find out what is working, what isn't working, just in case we've got to leave one side of it, you know, stick it on 16 amps, or stick it on 20 amp, and leave part of it on, part of it off, until we could get round to repairing. So we spent another half an hour, there's two of us, going round and taking sockets off, and couldn't find the damn thing. We narrowed it down to the kitchen. Now, I have been in the kitchen. The only circuit I touched in the kitchen was I wanted to have a look and do an R1, R2 on the cooker. Because obviously that's end of what's it. So I actually pulled the cooker out, took the connection unit off, took the cooker out, neutral and live, and did an R1, R2. Fine, that was it, that's all I did. So I'm thinking, have I put the cooker back on the ring circuit? Oh no, I couldn't do them because that's a 6mm. So we're flustered now. My mate come in to the kitchen, he says, it's got to be in here somewhere because everything else outside is working apart from in here. And we took one socket off, the one that we changed in the kitchen with the thermal damage. We took that one off and tested it, so we know it's in the kitchen somewhere. And my mate says, I ain't been in here apart from changing the socket. So anyway, he's looking round, and we see above the washing machine a picture. And my mate says, I don't remember the picture being there. Moves the picture out the way. The customer, sorry, not the customer, the tenant in the house decided to get a nail in the wall above the washing machine or tumble dryer, one of them. Anyway, an appliance. Right above it, they put this picture. We took it off and nailed in the wall. What's underneath it? So since my EICR that morning, there's now been a fault put onto the system, so which we've got to repair, obviously. So it's a bit of cable, we've got to, you know, it's time, labour. So my question is, what would you, my audience or whoever's watching, what would you do in that situation? Would you charge the landlord for the extra works and he then subsequently charges the tenant? Because from what I remember about, you know, some tenants and letting agency, they don't like you knocking nails in the wall unless you get prior permission, or hanging picture frames and stuff like that. I know some of them have, I've wrote some contracts for some people, and that's one of the things. So I don't know if everybody does this, and I suspect that they don't. I used to draw a plan of where they can and can't put picture frames, etc. Danger area, yeah, around the edge of the walls, down from sockets, across some sockets. Bit of the old kung fu there. So, what would you do? Would you charge? Would you try and get some money back? It's extra time. We still got the job done. We managed to get it done. We was probably about an hour later in that. Yeah. But what would you, the customer, what would you, the audience, do? The other one is, what do you think about the EICR that was done a year ago? Oh, one other thing. In a part of the EI, I know it's a picture postcard snapshot of the electrical installation. So this guy picked up that the light in the bathroom was not IP rated. Cool. He said that the fan isn't IP rated. Dispute that. It's a Ventaxia. It hasn't got that it's IP rated on, and this is where I need confirmation off you lot. But I've looked on their website and seen identical ones which are IP rated. I need to phone up Ventaxia and just clarify it with the serial number of the body. But my argument is, this guy's done an EICR, quite a thorough one, and I've got to admit, some of the figures were very similar to what I found myself. So I ain't disputing that this guy has done a sort of thorough job, ish. And we all miss things on these EICRs. That's why I think we all ought to go into a bit more depth when we do them. Whoever goes into do an EICR in a house and gets out within an hour, I'd question it. I don't care who you are, whether you do whether that is your full-time job. If you can go into a house and come out of a house within an hour and do an EICR, I'll question it. These people that employ people to do 5 or 6 EICRs a day, that's like a picture postcard MOT, that is to me. Anyway, so in the bathroom was a fuse connection unit. I'm old fashioned. Fuse spare switched, which was feeding the fan, or that's what it looked like. So you would think that the fuse spare was on the lighting circuit. No, the fuse spare was on the ring main, final ring. We all know what it is. And that was feeding the fan, coming out of the fan into the light, coming out of the light to the switch. So it was a bit of a 3-core job. So we've had to rewire that as well. That wasn't down on our remit to do. So there's a couple of things that I need to do. I don't mind changing a couple of sockets. I don't mind changing air feed lamps and stuff like that. You know, them few quid each. Well, about £1.50 each. But it's this thing about, we've had to do extra work in this bathroom. We've had to do extra work in repairing this cable that was damaged by the woman putting a nail in the wall and adding in this picture frame after we'd done the job. So that's my question to you. Put your comments down. Tell your mates I need, which side it is? I think it's going to be that side. This side here. There's a subscribe button. That was camp. Get your friends to subscribe. I need subscribers. Comments that are with the algorithms. But I really do need your input on what you, the viewers, would do. Anyway, that's me having a rant. My curry has gone cold while I've been talking to you a lot. TTFN.